In this video, I'm going to summarize the quest lore that really kicks off the main story to the Shadowlands. And this is specifically for those who didn't read the quest because they wanted to get to level 60 as fast as possible, but now they want to go back and read all the lore. And yes, I'll talk a little bit about how other realms are a possibility to visit pertaining to the quest lore, and not just some assumption that we all have. So if you didn't read any of the quests and now you want to know what you missed out on, then sit back and relax while we dive in and find out what's going on in World of Warcraft. Let's do a little recap before we start digging into the content. Last time we spoke with Bolivar Foredragon at Icecrown Citadel. After learning that Anduin, Jaina, Thrall, and Bane were captured, Sylvanas broke the Lich King's helmet and took off to the Maw. We followed her with the help of the Ebonblade, attempted to rescue Anduin, Jaina, Thrall, and Bane, but we were stopped by the jailer, only to escape through a sealed keystone that was closed a long time ago. If you'd like to see the entire episode regarding the quest lore and the Maw, then go ahead and click this link right over here. Now you arrive in Oribos, knowing that your leaders were left behind in the Maw. The guardians of the city think that you're a threat because you just showed up from a really bad place. But the captain senses something different about you. As you attempt to speak with her, the protectors say that you must be brought before the overseers at once, which you're instructed to follow them into the city of Oribos. So you make your way in and you speak with Overseer Ka Delen. You begin by asking her if she's in charge, and where exactly you are because you have no idea what the city is. Overseer Ka Delen can't believe that you, a mortal, are here in the city. After she gets over her shock, Ka Delen explains that she's an overseer of the Arbiter's attendants here in Oribos, and that they used to receive souls from a lot of different worlds, but never have they received a mortal, so this is the first time for them. She then asks if you really did escape the Maw, which you did. Ka Sher then talks about how every attendant here is taught that the Maw is completely unbreachable, and that with you escaping, that could mean that the prison is beginning to weaken. That's when Tal Inara shows up, and says that with everything going on and with you arriving here, something called the Arbiter is reacting to your presence, and that you might be the key to waking her. Even though Ka Sher is a bit cautious because from what they know, you could just be a spy from the jailer. But Tal Inara interrupts and says that it's not his place to judge souls, but that's the Arbiter's job, and that you'll be brought before her pretty soon. Now you run up to Tal Inara. She says that she is the voice of the Arbiter, and speaks for her even though that she's silent at this time. Alright, here's what the Arbiter is all about. She judges every soul that comes through this place in the mere fraction of a moment. So she sees everything about a person's soul, their joys, their mistakes, their regrets, everything. Then she places them where she thinks they should go within the Shadowlands. At least, that's what she used to do. Tal Inara then takes you to where the Arbiter is located, which is at the very top of Oribos. And when you arrive, you're given a vision about what really happened. Basically, as explained before, every soul passed through here and the Arbiter judged them, and then placed them in an area of the Shadowlands to remain for all eternity. But then something happened. The Arbiter was attacked, putting her to sleep. And now every soul, good or bad, is sent directly to the Maw. This is when you start learning about anima. So anima is, well, you could say it's like a soul's energy. And that energy is what basically runs Shadowlands. Because all of it is now going straight to the Maw, there's a drought in the Shadowlands and it's causing a lot of uncertainty and fear. The bad part is with all that anima going straight to the Maw, the jailer who hates the Arbiter could become strong enough to break himself free from the Maw. Now Tal Inara wants you to return to the lower levels of Oribos, so that the overseers can prepare you for what's to come. Once you arrive back at the lower levels, you speak with Tal Delen. She says that it's disappointing that your presence wasn't enough to wake the Arbiter, but since you're here, maybe you can establish a tether to the mortal plane. The map in this chamber was created by the first ones, or the first architects of Oribos. And if you have a memento from your homeworld, then the table can establish a connection with it using its magic and whatnot. Luckily, you've still got the shard from the Helm of Domination. So you run up to the table and you place the helm on top of it, which opens up a death gate allowing Bolivar and the Knights of the Ebonblade to enter. Overseer Ka Sher doesn't really like this because this just means more mortals showing up in a place that they don't belong. But Ka Delin mentions that they've been touched by the Maw, and if they found a way to break from it, then they might be able to help us out. So you run up to Bolvar, and he tells you that the shard from the Helm of Domination connected you and Bolvar while you were in the Maw. And he saw exactly what you went through while you were in there. Since you affixed the helm to the table, it allowed Bolvar and the Knights of the Emma Blade to break through the veil. But in order for you to get back home, that's going to require something with a bit stronger connection. And the Acolytes can help you out by opening up a portal back to Azeroth. That's when Ka Delin suggests that you establish your portals outside of the city. From here, you run up to the Acolytes and tell them to meet you outside. Once you meet with them, they begin to open up the portals. And even though they've opened up a ton of portals before, one of the Acolytes mentions that he's never opened up one that's connecting two planes. But they managed to do it, connecting Orgrimmar and Stormwind to the Shadowlands. From here, you head back into the city and speak with Ka Sher. He says that you should become familiar with the city and that you're not the only visitor here to Oribos. Brokers and vendors and all sorts of people have come here that are not from Oribos, and they're willing to help you out in exchange for a price. So you head out and you visit a bunch of people within the area. And when you return, Bolvar is finishing up telling the overseers about Sylvanas and all the crap that she did. Tal Inara says that if the mob bleeds into our realm, then everything will be consumed in darkness. Pretty much a lot of bad end of the world stuff is gonna happen. So Bolvar says that Sylvanas and the jailer need to be stopped before they can get whatever it is that they're going after. And that maybe Tal Inara can set us on the right path for finding the right answers. So you run up to Inara, and she asks how the leaders of the Horde and the Alliance became trapped within the Maw. Bolvar explains that Sylvanas sent agents to abduct them and describe them as dark-winged beings. This leads Tal Inara to mention the winged Kyrian of Bastion, and how they ferry souls from the mortal realm to the Shadowlands. Inara tells Ka Sher to use the remaining anima they have to open a pathway to Bastion from the Ring of Transference, so that you can start investigating the realm. From here, you follow Ka Sher to the portals, which leads you into the Ring of Transference. Once you get there, Ka Sher tells you something really interesting. Within the Arbiter's chamber on the top floor, there are gateways to infinite realms within the Shadowlands. And as each soul was judged, a gateway would open for the appropriate afterlife. Right there, Ka Sher says it all. There are infinite realms within the Shadowlands, which could mean that there are infinite covenants. And yeah, you could look at these empty slots for gateways and you would assume that we might visit other realms in later patches. But the quest lore confirms it and doesn't just assume anything, but it does confirm that there are other realms. And if there are other realms, then there has to be other covenants, which means that we could see a potential 5th, 6th, 7th, or even an 8th covenant added to the storyline, because the layout is set up for that exact thing. But what do you think? Could we see a 5th or even 4 brand new covenants in the future? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. So Ka Sher says that when the Arbiter was attacked, all of the gateways were shut down, and that we don't use the Arbiter's chamber for travel purposes. But here in the upper ring, gateways can be configured for your needs. So you walk over to where the first portal will be, as Ka Sher says it will call down one of the soul conduits to use as a gateway to Bastion. And because these paths have been dormant for such a long time, your arrival in the Bastion is going to be really unexpected. You then activate the gateway by calling down the conduit. After that's done, you speak with Path Scribe Ro Avanavi. He says that when you arrive in Bastion, you should look for one of the Kyrian, and explain to them that you need to speak with the Archon. Like the Arbiter, she's one of the eternal ones that rules over the realms. So you make your way through the gateway and head into Bastion to begin your journey on how to fix the problems within the Shadowlands. Looks like reading the quest lore is starting to pay out a bit. I feel like after reading them, I've been able to get way more out of the game than I used to. So if this content is down your alley, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you along for the journey. And a huge shout out to the Patreon subscribers for supporting this project. Every donation goes into making this channel better and better. If you'd like to help out, then go ahead and check out the Patreon link down below. And with that, we'll see you next week when we find out what's going on in the Tales of Azeroth. This leads Tal Inara to mention the what?